Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and thanks for joining me today. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to go over about 8 things that will help you get better at painting. Full disclaimer before we start though, these are things that I learned through my personal experience and I've been painting for about 6 years now, so I'm hoping that these tips will help you whether you're just starting out or if you just want some insight from another artist. Either way, we're just going to go ahead and jump straight into the first tip. So this first tip always ruffles a lot of feathers in the art community, and it's use a projector or use tracing paper. I think you should use any tool that helps you expedite your sketching process so that you can focus on painting. Especially if you're working with a very large surface like this canvas that I'm using, or you're working on a commission, maybe it's for a mural, using a projector is very ideal. A lot of artists like to sketch their ideas out on an iPad first and then project them onto larger surfaces. Just do whatever makes you comfortable. If you think you're starting to build an insecurity because you're using tools, take a step back for a while. Maybe work in a sketchbook for about a week or work with a smaller canvas. My point is, it's okay to just paint. You don't have to sketch and paint if you don't want to. But if you do, that's great. Tip number 2 is use fixative, which I'm spraying on the canvas right now. Here's a quick definition if you do not know what fixative is. Overall, it's a very helpful tool to keep your sketch from smudging or running when you're doing underpaintings like I am, or if you're just hopping straight into painting, it just keeps your sketch in place. Tip number 3 is work on one feature at a time when you're painting. Especially when you're working with portraits, I personally like to start at the cheek and then move through, the muse depending on the reference. For example, with this reference, she didn't have much neck showing, so I just went from the cheek to the jawline, straight to the neck, and got that over and done with, and that gave me more time to spend on her other features. Which brings me to my next tip. Find a reference that you really like. Honestly, that should have been the first tip, but you want to make sure you're creating something that will resonate with you once you're finished. A lot of us in the beginning of our art journey, we kind of just paint the first thing we see or paint whatever we want because we're practicing, right? But once you get to the point where you have a style and you've built a community around your work, you want to make sure you're still creating things that speak to you. You don't want to just paint just for the sake of it or just because you feel like you have to now. Paint because you enjoy it. And a part of enjoying your art is picking something that once it's done, you're not just going to be like, oh, it's finally finished. You're going to take a step back and still admire your work. Tip number 5 is practice patience. What does that look like for an artist? For one, yes, you want to take your time when you're painting. You don't want to rush yourself. But more importantly, it looks like taking time away from your painting. When you're working on portraits or working on any type of project, taking time away gives you the opportunity to look at your work with a fresh pair of eyes. A lot of us like to paint nonstop, but that could lead to burnouts and you could start to critique your work more. So just remember to take breaks. Tip number 6, always record your progress. This is something that I think is pretty self-explanatory, but if I was to give my 2 cents, recording your progress goes beyond building your brand or making content for social media. This is something that will be your personal art guide. So you want to make sure that you have something to reflect and look back on. Once we get to a certain point in our journey, we like to think we're not doing enough, we could be doing better, there's so much we need to learn. But when we have those videos of when we first started, or maybe even a video from last year compared to now, we're able to reflect and reassure ourselves that we are doing enough. You are doing enough. Tip number 7, don't compare yourself to others. Always remember that you are still learning, and whoever is inspiring you or whatever artist you like, they are also still learning. The career path that we've chosen as artists is a never-ending path towards growth. So try not to look to your left and your right and create competition in your mind that your work is either better or not good enough. Try not to look too far ahead at an artist who may have been doing this longer than you and creating competition. Overall, it's great to admire other people's work and use other people's work as motivation to keep going, but always keep in mind that we are all learning and we all learn differently. So give yourself some grace and try not to compare yourself too much to the next artist. Tip number 8, the last tip I have for you guys today, is share your work with someone you trust. This is a super healthy habit in my personal opinion. I think it's very beneficial having someone in your corner that you trust and that respects what you do. So when they give you their perspective, it means a lot to you. It kind of validates you a little bit while you're working, because sometimes we can feel like we're not doing enough, like I said before. So having that reassurance from somebody you trust before your work is finished, it's very rewarding. It makes you feel like, okay, this looks way better than I thought it did. And for a lot of artists, including myself, this may look like sharing our progress on social media with our community and our supporters. Sometimes we forget that a lot of our followers have been here since day one, so they've seen our art change and grow into what it is. So sharing your progress online can also be super beneficial, especially when you're getting positive feedback. A lot of the times other artists are following you, so they can give you some positive critiques or offer you some ideas to try out. Once you open up the floor, you realize that you have more people that you trust inside your community than you think you do. So just be open and see if it works out for you. And on that note, that is all of the tips that I have for you guys today. In the near future, I will be dropping more tips. But for now, especially if you're starting out, I hope that this was very helpful. Feel free to leave a comment down below if there's something more specific you like to learn about, like some art techniques, some skills, maybe you want to learn more about portraits. Just let me know in the comments. For now, I will go ahead and just let the rest of the video play out so you guys can see how I finished up this piece. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. It means so much to me. I will see you all in the next video.